So I'm here with Candace, and she has just a word of advice for brand new homeschoolers and some things that she's learned along her homeschooling journey.
Hello, how are you guys? So, when I first started homeschooling, I would say the best book I probably read was Teaching from Rest. Amazing. It's a small read and it's just filled with gems of truth. And
Give
that
us one. What did you learn? What did she teach you?
just that rest is really the space. Rest for me, what I gathered from that is being centered within yourself and within God. And so before you lay out your curriculum, I think you have to remember to put the big things in first. How are you going to get the message of God into the hearts of your kids? How are you going to get the love that you feel for them into their hearts? And I think sometimes when you start that journey, there's a lot of stress and expectation. And so that can get in the way of the bigger things that you're trying to create, which is a loving environment where your kids can get a good idea and vision of God and a good idea and vision of who they are, how they fit in your family, why they're so amazingly important to the plan, the entire plan as a whole, and then your plan as a family. So I feel like she just has such a beautiful way of saying, take your gifts, everyone has such specific gifts, and your kids were sent to you for a purpose, and they will be blessed by those gifts, and you will be blessed by their gifts, and accumulatively as a family, that's a beautiful orchestration of the things that you're trying to teach them. And so that kind of calmed my heart, I guess is the best way to say it. I know when I ventured out, I was trying to create school at home, and that was stressful. I mean, really, right? Like school at home, what does that look like? What does it feel like? And instead, the vision for me now is, what is your mission? What is your purpose? And how can I cater your education to a life of learning that you love, and things that will stick with you, that will make a difference in the character and person that you're going to grow up to be, and the mission that you're going to fulfill in this life. And so for me, it became a lot less about checking the boxes and a lot more about the messages that my kids were getting from our home. And so I do feel like reading does so much of that. Of course, at first I was, what spelling, what grammar, what history, what this. And what I've realized is if you're reading good literature to your children, they do pick up on a lot of those things all in one setting. They pick up on things that matter to you. They pick up on bigger words that they wouldn't have bumped into. They pick up on all of these things. And so for me, I would just say my greatest word of advice is be prayerful and realize that you are their parent and their greatest teacher on this earth. They were sent to you for a purpose. And those things that you feel, I always start simply by asking, what are the top 3 things I can do for our home and for this child specifically that will bless their life? And then if there's 3 things I should stop doing. And that comes from a talk by Larry Lawrence called What Lack I Yet? And it's powerful. Because I think if I could just have those 3 things at the top of their school list, then it doesn't get buried in all of the monotony of the day and trying to run around and all the things that come with it. And just trying to keep those key to what I'm pulling to teach them and show them. And then just remember, you're not alone. This is a community of people. If your kids like something, absolutely find a mentor that you love in that field. Have them tag along, have them ask them questions, and I think you don't have to motivate a child that's on fire about a certain subject. They just devour it. So.
And what's your process look like when you say, Larry Lawrence's talk, What Lack I Yet? It's one of my top 5. It's so beautiful.
Definitely, yeah.
I listen to it many times a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you put, what does that look like? You've got a journal open.
Yep.
This is you alone. Tell me.
So when I'm listening to church talks, I try to listen to at least 3 church talks a week and study them and take the nuggets from them, write them down. Yes, have a journal where I can refer back. I've even started putting them on a website where I can easily access the talks and the notes, because there's definitely gems for me that go with each thing, like Homeschool, What Lack I Yet, Gifts of the Spirit, A Righteous Judge. Lynn G. Robbins talks about how we see our children, and if we could see them as who they really are, it would change forever how we parent them. And so I think of it based in subjects in my head. And so for me, we sit down, we do breakfast with the prophets, where we listen to a talk from the prophets every day. And then from there, we do Come Follow Me. And then after devotional, we talk about things that stuck for us. Right now, we're studying enlisting in the Lord's Youth Battalion, the talk that President Nelson gave a couple of years ago, and his wife, because it is so relevant to all the things we're going through right now, and just so powerful. So I just try to pray about the things that will be most powerful for my kids for that day, and then write those little things in a journal. We try to keep a binder so they can see who's come to breakfast during the year and what they've remembered about those people. And then as far as my day goes from there, I try to do language arts and math, and then some reading with each child, and then a read aloud with the family. And if I can get those things done, then I feel like that's a successful homeschool day.
How about in terms of the top 3 things? Like, are you just journaling about that? Like,
yeah,
what's
so
the process
I
of
do.
setting up your school based on the top 3 things that your kids...
So I think of setting up school like a personal priesthood interview with the Lord, basically. I take my journal, I pray very specifically, I try to get into a quiet place, and I say, okay, first, my oldest daughter, I write her name at the top of the paper, and I start praying about her needs, and I just write down everything that comes to my mind, everything that starts flowing to me. And then from there, I take it back to the Lord and return a report and say, okay, what are my top 3? So I still have the list of everything, but what are my top 3 that would be most impactful for her this year? I circle those, and then I set up another piece of paper where I start with those 3 things. Okay, these are the 3 things I have to get in this year for this child. This is our focus. And then I try to focus the books that I'm pulling, the curriculum I'm pulling, the stories I'm pulling around those 3 themes for that child. And then I do that for each of my children.
And then build it into your week.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yes. And that's been the most helpful as far as feeling like I'm catering their education to things that will help them in their specific mission.
It sounds like the book Essentialism.
Oh yeah, I love that book. And Atomic Habits, all these small shifts are just so big. Mm-hmm. So I love curriculum. Like, I'd love to buy curriculum. But when it really comes down to actually the things that need to happen in my house, that simple step I think is the most powerful. Pray what your kids need and write those 3 things down.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.